Hello and welcome to my first non-gameplay video on this channel. I was initially going to do this as kind of a combo with the setup to my next Rimworld series, but I figured that together it would probably go too long, and so I decided to do this just as its own standalone video, just to help people out, because I hang around the Rimworld Reddit a lot, and a lot of questions come up there about mods and how to handle installing mods and why aren't mods working, and a lot of the time I think it's because they don't know how to install them properly, and that's no shade on anyone. If you haven't modded a game before, or have much experience with computers, I can understand it being very confusing. So I just wanted to do a quick overview of my process of firstly cleaning out an install of Rimworld and then getting it ready for a new mod list, and maybe some general things about modding. I'm putting a big asterisk right at the front here. I'm not an expert. I have not created any mods. If I had to, I could maybe fiddle around with them, but I would not be confident that I wouldn't break something. So I am very much a layman, and this is what works for me. I'm not saying it's the best way. I'm not saying there aren't other ways. This is a way that I've used and has worked for Rimworld, and I've created, tens of lists at this point, which have all been at least mostly stable. I've had one or two which had problems that I had to work around, but for the most part, I've had very good experiences with it. And this one that we currently have, if I just pop open the folder here, this is my Hive Mind mod list, which was the series that I've just finished. And this has been very stable and has been one of my favorite mod lists so far. I was very pleased with how stable it was, the performance, and how everything worked together to get the theme that I wanted. So, again, not the best way to do things, definitely not the only way. I don't use RimPy. I know a lot of people give that advice to people who are having issues with their mod lists. I find it really unfriendly as a user, and in my experience, it hasn't improved my mod lists particularly in terms of performance or compatibility. But again, I didn't have that many issues to start with, so I figure if it isn't broken, don't fix it. And if you think RimPy will fix it for you, by all means go ahead. I personally don't use it, so I won't be including anything about that in this video. This video is very much geared towards people who are maybe modding for the first time, or they download other people's lists, but because they're not in order, they can't get it to work as well as they would like. That kind of thing. So, as you can see, I have Rimworld here, and I just showed you we have a whole bunch of mods installed. So, step one is to get rid of all the old junk out of Rimworld. So, we're going to go to Steam, and you go to your Rimworld page, and you head to the workshop. And then if you come down here where it says your files, you can go down to your subscribed items, and this will give you basically a list of all the mods that you're currently subscribed to. And there's a very handy button here. You just unsubscribe from all, say yes, and it'll get rid of those. And there you go. Now I have no mods installed. But that isn't the end. So we're going to go back. This is going to validate itself in a moment. Okay, Rimworld sorted itself out. It's accepted that I've uninstalled all the stuff. And now we're going to right-click, we're going to manage, and we're going to uninstall. And essentially what we want is a completely fresh install of Rimworld. We want Rimworld exactly as it is the first time you install it. Now, this is a good start, but there are a few more steps that we can take just to make sure. Sometimes things get cached or files just hang around when they shouldn't. So this is from a guide someone else set up for a Modlist install, which was very big and had a lot of steps, but I'm only here for the preparation stage. I will leave a link to this, but do be advised this isn't my Google Drive, so if you're cautious about those kind of things, be aware. But this is the only part we need. And so there's 3 places that you have to check to make sure that they're empty before we reinstall Rimworld. So I have the files ready here. So this is the first one, Rimworld by Ludian Studios, and we're basically going to delete all of this. It's worth noting, this is basically all your settings and mod settings. So if you delete this, all of those are going to go away and you're going to have to redo them when you reinstall Rimworld. So it is helpful. Like this is a folder that can cause problems, so I do advise you to get rid of it. But if you're unsure about what your settings are or what you've changed, maybe go into your game and take a screenshot before you do this step. But now that that's gone, this second one is if you manually downloaded mods. I haven't done that, so I don't have this one, but I do have the last one here, which is basically where mods are stored in the workshop. When we unsubscribed, it deleted the folder. And yeah, we can see we don't have 294.100, which is the code for Rimworld. So we're good. That folder's already gone. If you don't unsubscribe within the workshop itself, those will be there and you can just delete them here. But it's good to check. Also, my path is a little different because I download my mods to a different folder. You don't need to worry about that. Just follow the instructions here or, wherever your Steam mods get downloaded to, and that's it. So now we need to reinstall Rimworld, which is very easy. It's right here. We click install, and you just go through your however you regularly install your games through Steam, and I'll catch up with you when it's downloaded. It should only be a minute or two. Okay, Rimworld is installed, but just to be very sure that everything is good, we're going to go to properties, and we're going to go to local files. Yes, local files, and we're going to verify the integrity of the game files. This takes a few minutes, but this basically runs through all of the files and makes sure nothing's corrupted and makes sure everything is there that should be. Now, in theory, it should be because we deleted those folders and we reinstalled Rimworld, but it takes 2 minutes. If anything doesn't work after this point, the first thing anyone is going to tell you is to do that step, so you might as well do it now. All right, and now we have our fresh version of Rimworld, so let's launch that up. If we look in the mods tab here, we can see that we don't have anything. We just have core, which is the base game, and then royalty and ideology are the expansion. So those are all loaded. Now we can leave Rimworld open, and we're going to go back to the workshop. And to start off with, there's 2 mods that we're going to download and enable. The first is Harmony. So you can just search for Harmony. And you want to make sure, I'm assuming that everyone is playing on the 1.3 version. If you're playing on an older version, just make sure that you're getting the version of mods that line up with the version that you're playing, because it can cause a lot of issues if you're using a different version mod to the different version of game that you're playing. At the moment, we're on 1.3. And so we're going to download Harmony. So we're subscribed, it's downloaded, and the other thing we're going to download is the mod manager. So we can just type in mod manager, and this is it, Fluffy's mod manager. Yeah, I think they changed the background, but this is the mod. So we're also going to download that one. And there it goes. And if we come back to Rimworld and go to our mods, we can see that they're here. So what we're going to do is we're going to enable those, and then we're going to put Harmony right at the top. You saw it flash red there for a moment, and that's because this Harmony should be loaded before everything. Technically, it can come after core, but just put it at the top. It doesn't harm anything, and it basically is to stop any confusion with other mods that want to be loaded before core. The Harmony always needs to be loaded first. So we load Harmony, and then down here we have mod manager, and that's fine. So we close this, and you'll get a message, the mod list has changed, the game will now restart automatically, which is perfect. That's what we want. So close the game, restart, and if we go to mods now, you can see it looks different. This is the mod manager. So the way the mod manager works is it just has a few extra features. It essentially functions the same as the base Rimworld Modlist, but it has a few extra things, which we'll get into once we install a couple of mods. I'm not going to do anything crazy. I just wanted to show you this is your base level. You have the mod manager, so that'll help you with sorting your mods once you get them in here. You have Harmony, which pretty much every mod requires. So you're just going to add, when you install mods, they'll appear here, and then to enable them, you just pull them over to here. The list, the priority is from top to bottom, so everything up here gets loaded first, and then anything under that, think of it of layers of paint, right? So if I have say I have a mod that turns everything on the screen red, okay? And I put that at the top, everything's going to appear red. If I download another mod, which makes, I don't know, buildings appear as blue squares, and I put that below, it's going to paint everything red, and then it's going to put those blue squares, paint them over the top. If I put the blue square mod above the red squares, you won't see the blue squares because it'll paint the blue squares and then it'll paint red over the top. So, whether you want to think of it as painting or as a cake or just as layers, as numbers, however it works for you, the higher up this list something is, the more important it is, but anything below that is going to get painted over it. I know it can be a little confusing because it seems like if something was important, it should go at the bottom so it loads last, but it's dependencies. Like, this mod can't run without the tools that this mod implements, because it isn't just what's appearing on your screen, it's how everything is built from the bottom. So even though Harmony is the most important mod, it goes at the top because that's your foundation, right? You can't build a house without the foundation. And, while I don't know where I'm going with this metaphor, while your carpets might be very important to you and very pretty, and you want to make sure people can see them, if your foundations aren't there, you've got nothing to put your carpets on. I hope that helps someone. I know that's not the clearest way to explain it. Just, it reads top to bottom, and usually in the mods, in the description somewhere, they'll give advice on where it needs to be loaded, or if there's other mods it's dependent on, whether it should be above or below those. In general, things like frameworks want to be near the top, and then things that add things to the game should be at the bottom. In general. With some bigger mods, it gets a little more confusing. So I'm going to install probably just a few basic mods just to show off how this works, but otherwise, I hope that helps you a little with your modding and your mod lists, and let me know if you have any questions. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but I will do my best. Okay, let's get some mods. So I'm actually just here in the workshop. I was just gonna install a bunch of stuff, but I thought it'd be worth highlighting this as a way that you could download a bunch of mods all at once. You can find collections, which is collections of mods that other people have put together. So we have VQ's medieval mods here, and you can see it has all these mods in it. And to install this, you literally just come to the workshop and you click subscribe to all. The problem with these is they're usually, it doesn't have the load order, either the order that they were added in or alphabetical. So it doesn't help you with organizing the list. That's the only downside to these. But one thing you can do is you can create your own collection, and none of this really matters. You can just, call it whatever. No one can see it. You don't have to worry about that. And yeah, you don't even have to, whatever. None of this is important. Here. This is my thumbnail from another video. So this is now a collection. There's nothing in it because I didn't put anything in it. But if we go back to the shop here, not the shop, the workshop, and we find mod. So let's I don't know, let's find something simple. Hugslib and Walllight. These are two, and Rimhud. These are very popular mods. We definitely want these in our lists. So we can click the little green plus, which will add it, which will subscribe us to it and add it to our game. Or, So what we can do is we can come down here and we can say add to collection. And as you can see, I already have a bunch, so this is annoying, but you click your collection, tell it to add, and you're not subscribed, but you now have that in your collection. So if we go back, and we can do that for Hugslib as well. We'll add to our collection. I think these ones are ticked because it's already included in those. So because like I said, these are kind of your baseline mods that you want in most of your collections or your mod lists or whatever you want to call them. Different games, different communities tend to call them different things. But the benefit of this is if we go, you can go to your workshop items and then you just come to collections here. No collections were found. Well, that's a lie. There we go. Took a moment. But yeah, then it's here, and then you can just subscribe to all, or you can subscribe to them down in a line. And when you uninstall your mods, like say you want to change it up, you want to do other things, you'll still have this list. This list will never go away. So if you're having issues or you need to change something out, you can just take it all out, and then you don't have to find all your mods again. They'll be right here. And that's a benefit. So we can go to subscribe to all. And we're now subscribed, so it's going to download those. And if we look in Rimworld here, they pop right up. And so let's just give it a moment. Okay, so let's just throw these in. We're going to throw that in there, and we're just going to throw them all in at the top. Now you can see we get some red warning signs. And if you hover over right there, it gives you some information. So it should be loaded after core, should be loaded after royalty, should be loaded after harmony. And that's pretty, like I said, that's pretty standard. Hugslib. Let's see if it gives. Okay, this one doesn't give the warnings, but Hugslib you also want right up here, right after that, and Walllight should be under here. Walllight's a small mod, probably doesn't matter if it was all the way up there, but good practice is to keep everything under your frameworks and your libraries and your tools. So I'm going to include a link in the description to a website that I use. I think it's actually the Rimworld of Magic wiki, which has basically some advice on how to order your mods for the best, generally the best outcome. It's not particular, but in general, it should work. And I found it to be helpful. In general, if you want even more general advice than that, you want your frameworks, your libraries, your base mods like SRTS, I don't know, Jex tools, all those kind of things right at the top. Harmony is the only one which goes above core, royalty, or ideology, unless, read the mod descriptions. It'll tell you if something else needs to go up there. And then those go under that. And then after that, you can be a little more loose with it. In general, if you have mods that are altering similar things, so to go back to my analogy, say I have a mod which turns all of my people's clothing red, and then a mod that, I don't know, puts their names on the back of their shirts, right, or something. I need to put the name on the back of their shirt below the mod that turns it red, so then they'll have a red shirt, and it'll put their name on the back. Sometimes mods are just incompatible. Depending on how they're set up, that mod that writes the name on the back of the shirt might just take up the whole shirt. Like, even though all you're seeing is the letters and, the person's name, the way that that's drawn, the way it's coded, might make it so that even if that mod is below the red shirt mod, it'll still overwrite the red shirt mod. And that's kind of something you just have to experiment with. Mods will usually list if there's big conflicts that you should be aware of, or other mods that do similar things that they don't mesh well with. Ultimately, the best way is just to kind of go for it, just play around. And I say this as someone who has a very unhealthy mod addiction, but try and keep your lists as light as possible. Like, it's very tempting to go through the workshop and go, oh, this sounds cool, I want this, and I want this, and I want this. And I've done that, and I found that I end up not using maybe like 40% of the mods I install, but those mods are still bringing down your performance, and there's still opportunities for incompatibility issues. So the way I approach it, at least now, is I think what am I going to focus on this next playthrough, or what do I want to experience, or what do I want to be included? And I try and get that idea as tight as possible, and then I look for mods that complement that idea. And I go through my lists, and I go through them 2 or 3 times, and for each mod, and obviously you don't have to take this as seriously as me, but I ask myself, is this mod doing anything for my playthrough? Is it directly impacting my enjoyment of the game? And for a lot of them, it's yes, and that's why my mod lists are still like 100 to 200 mods, because there's a lot of fantastic mods that alter the game in ways I enjoy. But as I've said in the past, it's very easy to bloat your list up to like 300-400 mods, and that's when, at least for me, that's when big issues started to come in, whether it's crashes or things not working quite right, or the game starts to break down after a certain point because of, back-end stuff that you're not aware of, or just your computer can't handle all the things it's being asked to do, so it slows down and it's not fun to watch a slideshow. Ultimately, the thing that makes Rimworld great, and why I love it so much, and why so many great mods exist for it, is you can play it however you want and whatever makes you happy. So I hope this helps at least some people. I'll see you in the next one. I hope you watch my next Rimworld series. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.